webcasting for a worldwide audience.
Hello, good day, it's John here at Radio Lewis, where the music matters. How are you feeling today? Hope you're feeling well. Good. We're off for another track, a day of tracks, and here we go. I'm going to start us off today with The Human Jungle. This is a theme by John Barry from 1963. Now, this was a British television series, concerned a psychiatrist played by Herbert Lom, and each was a 50-minute story, so it was an anthology. John Barry himself, of course, is known for the James Bond themes, Dances with Wolves, and Out of Africa, also Born Free. It's a typically evocative track. It's The Human Jungle. John Barry there, kicking us off. So we move on now. We'll start away with 2,000 Light Years from Home. This is by the Rolling Stones from 1967. It's from the album Satanic Majesty's Request. It came out actually as a single, and it was the B-side to She's a Rainbow. It features Brian Jones on mellotron and theremin. So there you are. I hope I pronounced that name right. It, as an album itself, it was a very, very psychedelic album. I bet all you Rolling Stones fans amongst you know that. Not exactly typical of their output. I absolutely love this track. It's the Rolling Stones and 2,000 Light Years from Home. Rolling Stones there. Now, Petula Clark has been around for a very, very long time indeed. In fact, when I was a little lad, I had Film Fun books, which I'm sure some of you may well remember. And she was actually featured in a strip called Our Pet. And in actual fact, she made her first album in 1957. And she had a whole earlier career on radio. And she then went on in the 60s to have some very evocative and big hits, Downtown and Don't Sleep in the Subway. And they were very sort of iconic tracks actually in the 60s. They really were. She also worked with Joe Meek, for example. And yet, oddly enough, she doesn't sort of seem to get classed with the other singers of the 60s, the sort of Scylla or Lulu or Dusty or anyone like that. She, however, covered this track, which is Have I the Right? And this was a big hit for the Honeycombs, and that was given the Joe Meek treatment. This, however, couldn't be more different from that stomper. So this is Have I the Right, Petula Clark.
Have I the right to hold you? You know I've always told you that we must never ever part. Have I the right to kiss you? You know I'll always miss you. I've loved you from the very start. Come right back, I just can't bear it. I got some love and I long to share it. Come right back, I'll show my love is strong. Yeah. Have I the right to touch you? If I could, you'd see how much you send those shivers running down my spine. Have I the right to thrill you? You know I'd wait until you give me the right to make you mine. Oh, come right back, I just can't bear it. I got some love and I long to share it. Come right back where you belong. Yeah. Come right back where you belong. Oh, yeah.
Excellent, Petula Clark there. Now, moving forward in time to 1977, this is the Alan Parsons Project, and the track we have selected for you today is I Wouldn't Want to Be Like You. It is from the I, Robot album. Now, the vocals here are Lenny Zakatek, and he played Ronnie Scott's, apparently, in the early 70s. And he had a big disco hit with a group called Gonzales. I have double-checked this to make sure this is the case, which was in 1976, and it was I Haven't Stopped Dancing Yet, and that was a big hit all over the world. And even though I'm not a fan of disco, I do clearly remember that. He then went on to work with Alan Parsons Project for 8 albums. Now, the iRobot album, of course, does refer to the Isaac Asimov sci-fi tale of the same name, and it is what we would call a concept album, which, of course, is something that, how do I say, does tend to get mocked a little bit. I looked up the word concept album to see what it says, and all it says is basically it can be anything, but it is a rock album featuring a cycle of songs expressing a particular theme or idea. Not particularly too outrageous, is it? So here we are then, it's the Alan Parsons Project and I Wouldn't Want to Be Like You. Alan Parsons Project there. Now, 1969, one heck of an album came out. That was Led Zeppelin 2. And the track that I've selected here is Heartbreaker from that album. Very little to tell you. I think we all know this track extremely well. It features a fabulous Jimmy Page guitar solo. And so I think it's something you're really going to enjoy. One little thing just for me to nail my colours to the mast. Robert Plant and I do share one love in common. Wolverhampton Wanderers. There we are. Happy days for us all. This is Heartbreaker and Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin. Now, as you know, I go hunting around for tracks of great interest to you, and I've come up with another one that I've found. This is from 1961. It is The Blizzard by Jim Reeves. Now, it's a real maudlin story, which were the kind of song that was quite popular around that time. They tended to turn up on B-sides, and Jim Reeves did more than one of these, so it's an interesting little tale. I'll leave you to listen to it because it is fairly straightforward. A couple of things just to think about though. Firstly, the countdown, will he reach home? And secondly, and what concerns me, whatever did happen to those biscuits that were waiting in the pan? The blizzard, Jim Reeves.
There's a blizzard coming on, how I'm wishing I was home. For my pony's lame and he can't hardly stand. Listen to that norther sigh, if we don't get home we'll die. But it's only 7 miles to Marianne. It's only 7 miles to Marianne. You can bet we're on her mind, for it's nearly supper time. And I'll bet there's hot biscuits in the pan. Lord, my hands feel like they're froze, and there's a numbness in my toes. But it's only 5 more miles to Marianne. It's only 5 more miles to Marianne. That wind's howling and it seems mighty like a woman screams. And we best be moving faster if we can. Dan, just think about that barn with that hay so soft and warm. For it's only 3 more miles to Marianne. It's only 3 more miles to Marianne. Dan, get up, you ornery cuss, or you'll be the death of us. I'm so weary, but I'll help you if I can. All right, Dan, perhaps it's best that we stop a while and rest. For it's still 100 yards to Marianne. It's still 100 yards to Marianne. Late that night the storm was gone, and they found him there at dawn. He'd have made it, but he just couldn't leave old Dan. Yes, they found him there on the plains, his hands froze to the reins. He was just 100 yards from Marianne. He was just 100 yards from Marianne.
Love-struck Romeo sings his pizza serenade, laying everybody low with a love song that he made. Finds a street light, steps out of the shade, says something like, "You and me, babe, how about it?" Juliet says, "Hey, it's Romeo, you nearly gave me a heart attack." He's underneath the window, she's singing, "Hey, Lime, my boyfriend's back. You shouldn't come around here singing other people like that. Anyway, what you gonna do about it?" Juliet, the dice was loaded from the start, and I bet, and you exploded in my heart. And I forget the movie song. When you're gonna realize it was just that the time was wrong. Juliet, Yes, and the dream was just the same. And I dreamed your dream for you, and now your dream is real. Yeah, can you look at me as if I was just another one of your deals? When you can fall for chains of silver, you can fall for chains of gold. You can fall for pretty strangers and the promises they hold. You promised me everything. You promised me thick and thin, yeah. But now you just say, oh, Romeo, yeah. You know, I used to have a scene with him. Juliet, when we made love, you used to cry. You said, I love you like the stars above. I love you till I die. There's a place for us. You know the movie song. When you're gonna realize it was just that the time was wrong. Juliet. I can't do the talk like the talk on the TV. And I can't do a love song like the way it's meant to be. I can't do everything, but I do anything for you. I can't do anything except be in love with you. All I do is miss you and the way we used to be. All I do is keep the beat and the bad company. And all I do is kiss you through the bars of a rhyme. Julie, I do the stars with you anytime. Juliet, when we made love, you used to cry. You said, I love you like the stars above. I love you till I die. There's a place for us. You know the movie song. When you're gonna realize it was just that the time was wrong. Juliet. Love-struck Romeo sings a speech, a serenade, laying everybody low with a love song that he made. Finds a convenient street light, slips out of the shade. He says something like, you and me, babe, how about it?
Dire Straits there, with Romeo and Juliet from their Making Movies album. That was from 1980. And what a classy track that is. Really classy. Now, moving along, Neil Innes. Now, this is a track called Kenny and Lisa from 1979. And I love Neil Innes's observations. In this particular case, we are looking at two runaways in a sort of a snapshot. The moment like you've come into a motorway cafe and there are these two runaways. They're there when you get there, they're gone when you leave. Nothing more needs to be said on them. Strangely, the Guinness Book of Records TV series, which this is a part of, despite the enormous popularity that it had at the time, was never officially released on anything like DVD or anything like that. And to a certain extent it is forgotten, which is a real shame. You can actually go to YouTube and view a number of them. Whether you can see them all, I'm not sure, but you can certainly view a number of them. But they're great. I love Neil Innes, as I say, and this is Kenny and Lisa.
Wheels rolling along, wheels rolling along.
Neil Innes. Now, 1968, I've found a track by a group called Rose Garden. Now, their name derives from the Flower Power of 1968. The track is called Next Plane to London. It reached number 17 in the US charts. Basically, it details a musician seeking fame in London and leaving behind her boyfriend. Hollywood apparently does not provide the springboard to fame for once. And the vocals by a lady called Diana DeRose. These are really deep, powerful vocals that you'll hear. The influence on the album that came out of the same name, Rose Garden, was very, very heavily influenced by the Byrds. It's not so pronounced on this particular track, but it's well worth searching the album out to see what I'm saying. Anyway, a really likeable track, and this is Rose Garden with The Next Plane to London.
The next flight to London will be boarding in 5 minutes.
Next plane to London, leaving on runway number 5. Next plane to London, and I'm missing him, that baby of mine. Told him I was gonna be a star, but to do it I would have to go far away. But I'd come back someday and take him away. I'm on the next plane to London, leaving on runway number 5. Next plane to London, and I'm missing him, that baby of mine. Said that over here I wasn't in. Down in Hollywood I couldn't find a friend who would help me get in. Oh, listen to me, I'm on the next plane to London, leaving on runway number 5. Next plane to London, and I'm missing him, that baby of mine.
Your attention, please. The next flight to London is now the final boarding stage. All passengers holding tickets, please proceed to boarding area number 5.
Baby, over there I'll get a start. Only hope I leave and I don't break his heart. The more important part than any record on the chart. I'm on the next plane to London, leaving on runway number 5. Next plane to London, and I'm missing him, that baby of mine. Next plane to London, leaving on runway number 5. Next plane to London, and I'm missing him. Oh, yeah, that baby of mine.
Rose Garden. Now, the Leopards were a group from Kansas City, and they produced an album called Kansas City Slickers. And the track that I have selected is Road to Jamaica. The year we're talking, incidentally, is 1977. Now, without looking them up at all or anything like that, the very first thought that comes to mind is, goodness me, it's the Kinks. And we are talking the Kinks from 1967, not 1977. It is a smashing track. It really does stick with you. And I think it's one that you would think, I wouldn't mind hearing that again. So see what you think. It's the Leopards and Road to Jamaica.
Kingston Town, Port Royal, many cities and many towns, ripe bananas, point siennas, many fruits and many flowers, and the ladies wear bananas on their heads. Why don't they wear vegetables instead? like I have seen this film before. I wonder if I'll see Dorothy no more. I'm on the road to Jamaica, oh, the Indian Isles, island of smiles. Road to Jamaica, it looks like Jamaica is going to be my home. Joy and a lot of pain, a lot of boats, donkeys and goats, a lot of good guys and a lot of dotes, and the people there always come to your aid. As long as you have got the cash to pay. I'm on the road to Jamaica, oh, the Indian Isles, island of smiles. Road to Jamaica, it looks like Jamaica is going to be my home. I'm on the road to Jamaica, oh, the Indian Isles, island of smiles. Road to Jamaica, it looks like Jamaica is going to be my home. Be my home. It's gonna be my home. It's gonna be my home.
The Leopards. Now, in 1967, a very iconic album appeared by Tyrannosaurus Rex. My people were fair and had stars in their hair. And from there, I have looked and found the track Afghan Woman for your pleasure. Now, the album, I will have to say, was under the arm of the coolest kids in school in 1967-68. And it was something I used to look at, even though I didn't own it, and think, oh, that looks really, really interesting. The cover work was also intriguing. It was actually done by George Underwood, who was a very close friend of David Bowie. But the album itself was produced by Tony Visconti. It features, of course, Mark Bolan and Steve Peregrine Took. This is Afghan Woman.
Afghan woman deemed a princess born, a true blue thoroughbred. Head of Jesus' face, the favours only of nowhere. Years that spread around your chamber, blooms that twine around your ears.
Tyrannosaurus Rex. Well, our hour is up, I'm afraid, and so we come to the final track. 1967, Save Me, Brian Auger and Julie Driscoll. Now, this particular track was also recorded by Aretha Franklin. It features some outstanding vocals from Julie Driscoll, and I think you'll find that this is, if you like quality, this is for you. So it's just to say thank you very much to my producer Si Stonehouse for his sterling work, as I say. Thank you, Si. And I will see you all next week and leave you with Brian Auger, Julie Driscoll, and Save Me.
Local webcasting for a worldwide audience.